Chapter 4, Part 3. Let's start off by talking about how to use the dictionary. Now, this is the 10th edition of the Robert Collins Unabridged Dictionary. And if you have, no, I think this is actually the 9th edition that I'm showing you. The 10th edition has come out. I kind of like the 9th edition better because the pages are a little thicker and there's not as much bleed. But here we have page 2183 near the back. And these appendices are really important for helping you understand what verb tense that you have. You can use this dictionary during the exam, and you want to master every aspect of it, every tool that it gives you, so that you can get the most out of it. So you're going to want to master these conjugation tables in the back. And so starting on page 2183, or approximately 2183, we have a list of conjugations, and they're all numbered. And conjugation number 1 is the irregular ER verbs. And so it uses arriver as the paradigm. It could have used parler, but because both of them are completely regular. And what it does is it gives every tense that exists and how you conjugate it so that you can figure out what it is. So we're just going to look at the boxes here indicate moods. We're going to look at the indicative, which is what we've been looking at. Over here's the subjunctive. We haven't started, and down below are imperatives and participles. But let's just look at how we use this. So we've got the present tense here. Now the present tense is the name of, say, the présent in French, and it's the present in English. So there's not much variety there. So we have the 6 forms. We start off with the first person, second person, third person, singular, followed by the first, second, third person plural. And so the 6 verbs are always in that order: j'arrive, tu arrives, il arrive, nous arrivons, vous arrivez, ils arrivent. And then it gives, over here, it gives the perfect tense. Now, we haven't been talking about the perfect tense. We've been talking about the passé composé. And that's because there's not a standard way of translating the French tenses into English. There's not a real standard name for some of these. So I would call this, I wouldn't call it the perfect tense, I'd call it the composed past tense. But what we have is we have this, and it's je suis arrivé. Now, this is interesting because normally we've seen verbs conjugated with avoir for the passé composé, but the verb arriver is conjugated with être, and we'll come up with that. So we're not going to spend too much time there. And then all the different tenses are given here. And so these are all the indicative, and we'll cover these. And the subjunctive is over here, and the past participles are down lower. So, but what I want to emphasize is that this is known as conjugation 1, and the next page is conjugation 2, and so on. Now, what does this mean? Let's actually look at a verb in the dictionary. Let's go to the verb arriver. So here we have the infinitive written in bold in blue. That's how you look it up. And then in the slashes here, we've got the pronunciation written in the International Phonetic Alphabet. Now, we're not studying the International Phonetic Alphabet, but it's really useful because each sound, like, for example, there might be 15 different A sounds that different languages use. Each A sound is going to have its specific symbol, so that if you know what that symbol means, you will know how to pronounce it. So here we've got an A, and then here we've got a capital R. That's for the French R sound. And then we've got an I, which is the E, and the V, which is the V sound. And then we've got a small e, that's the A sound in the International Phonetic Alphabet. So arrive. So that's the pronunciation, and that's interesting and it's worth your effort, but it's not on the test how to pronounce things. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on the International Phonetic Alphabet in this course. And now we start off with a little, we've got conjug 1 in between 2 arrows there. And what that means, that's conjugation 1. So every verb that has conjugation 1 will be like conjugation 1, arrive. And so if it says conjug 14, you would go to table 14 to figure out how it's conjugated, to figure out what tense your verb is in. So if you're reading and you can figure out what the infinitive is, you can go to the dictionary. It'll tell you what conjugation it is. You can go to that conjugation in the back and figure out, ooh, what tense is it based on this pattern? So that's the main thing that I want to point out now is this little phrase here between the two triangles tells us what conjugation it is. Now, a few other things. Notice it starts off with a blue box VI or sometimes VT. And that stands for verb intransitive. So intransitive. So intransitive means that there's not a noun directly after it. There's no direct object. And now there might be arrive as a transitive verb, but it'll be in a different section. This whole section here is going to be the intransitive verb section. So if you had arrive followed by a noun, you would not look in this section. You'd go to the VT for the transitive verb section. And here we've got the first group of meanings, the first main meaning of arrive as an intransitive verb. And it says at the end of a voyage, like a train or a person might make. It means to arrive. And so that's the basic meaning there. Now, down below, we have our second main meaning when it means to approach, such as a season or a night or a person's or a vehicle might approach. It would be translated as to come. So the first main meaning is to arrive. The second main meaning is to come. And then it gives us a little horizontal diamond, and it gives examples of how each one is used in a phrase. So the tilde means whatever is the dictionary word is. So it doesn't repeat arrive each time it uses it. So this is arrive a. So arrive plus the a with the accent mark. That's the first expression. Here we've got arrive de. Here we've got some arrive en, arrive chez, and then here we've got it in the past tense, le train doit arriver à. Give some examples of sentences, and each time we see that tilde, it's the word arrive there. Now, the important ones will be at the beginning. To arriver à means to arrive at or to get to, like a city, to arrive at Paris. Now, arriver de means to arrive from, like to arrive from Paris or Germany or something like that. The pays is a country, a ville is a city. They give some examples. Arriver en France, to arrive in or reach France, to arrive in France or to reach France. Here's arriver chez des amis. Chez means at the home of, to arrive at friends, and so on. And so that's basically how we use this dictionary. So, but I want to especially emphasize that we're using the conjugation number to figure out what verb table to get the different conjugations of the verb. All right, let's get back to the textbook. And now we're going to look at past participles used as adjectives and in participial phrases. So as an adjective, let's look at the sentence. Il a vu des chats fatigués. So il a vu, vu is the past participle of voir, to see. So he literally says he has seen, but we would say he saw des chats fatigués. So chat is a noun, des is the indefinite article plural. So he saw some cats. And then we've got this adjective afterwards, which is really a past participle, fatigué, tired, fatigued, and we've got it's in the plural because Shah is in the plural and Shah is masculine, so it stays in the masculine. He saw some tired cats. So any participle past participle we can use as an adjective. He saw some tired cats, or he saw some fatigued cats. So that's same thing pretty much in English there. So that's using it as an adjective. Now, it can also be an adjective in a participial phrase. Now, what do we mean by a phrase? A phrase that begins with a participle. So let's choose a sentence from the text that you're going to translate. Trouver dans une grotte. Okay, so what do we have? We've got trouver as a past participle of to find. Dans une grotte. Grotte is a cave. Um, not a wine cellar cave, but an underground cave. Uh, so found in a grotte. Now this is trouvé has this extra e on it as a past participle because it's describing something feminine. La lampe, and this text is about a prehistoric stone lamp that was found in a cave. La lampe a une grande valeur historique. The lamp has a great value historic. The lamp has a great historical value, we would say. So literally this says, found in a cave, the lamp has a great historical value. But that's not smooth English. We would have said, having been found in a cave, the lamp has great historical value. We would add this having been in front. We would add having had in front of the past participle for clarity. That just makes a sentence read smoother in English. So you can say found in a cave, the lamp has great historical value, but that is just kind of awkward. We could change it all around, say the lamp found in a cave has great historical value. But if we want to emphasize that it has great historical value because it's been found in the cave, we could say having been found in a cave, the lamp has great historical value. Now I want to introduce you to a new type of object pronouns. I'm going to call them strange object pronouns because we don't really have something like this in English. And we're going to look at them more in depth in chapter 13, but I want to introduce them now to kind of get your mind going so it should be a little bit more familiar. We've seen some, and we'll see more before we get to them officially in chapter 13. Whenever we've got a prepositional phrase starting with de, followed by some noun, it can be replaced by a special pronoun en. And that en gets translated as of it, from it, some of it, etc., and etc. It'll depend on the context. So let's look at the sentence. Il parle de l'amour. He's speaking of love. He's talking about love. That sounds like a nice sentence. You might want to, if you're with somebody who's talking about love, you might want to repeat that in your mind quite often because it's romantic, what he's saying. But you might get tired of this phrase de l'amour and you want to replace it with a pronoun. And you can do that. It's de plus a noun gets replaced by en, and pronouns get placed in front of the noun. So we could replace it by saying il en parle. He speaks of it, or he's speaking of it. That's what il en parle means. He speaks of it. Je vends du gâteau. I'm selling some cake. Okay, that's a little less romantic, but if you're hungry, it might be something good to run into, somebody who's saying this. And you might ask, what are you doing to the cake? and he might respond du gâteau, replacing du gâteau with a pronoun. You can say j'en vends. I'm selling some. I'm selling some. Or I'm selling some of it. You could translate it as. So that's en as a pronoun. And you can tell it's a pronoun because it occurs directly in front of the verb. We've seen expressions like en France, meaning in France, as a preposition, but the preposition will be followed by a noun, while as the en occurs between the subject and the verb. When that happens, when it's between the subject and the verb, it's a pronoun replacing some phrase that starts with de plus some noun. Now, we can do the same thing with a plus a noun when the a is indicating some type of location. It can be replaced by the word e or the letter y, which is pronounced e when you're reading it. Now, if you just say the letter y, it's y. The Greek I is the name of the letter, but when you read it, it's pronounced e. It gets translated as there, to it, at it, etc., depending on what the context is. Je parle à la maison. I talk at home. Well, that's good. You might be really silent in class, but at home you talk. Je parle à la maison. I talk at home. We can replace that phrase à la maison, because it's a plus a noun of location, by the pronoun y. J'y parle. And we would translate this as I talk there. The e gets translated as there. So these are just kind of strange pronouns that we don't really have in English. And we'll come back to them and look at them more in detail later, but they're good to be aware of them and get a little practice with them now. So here are 6 sentences that you can practice. And when you've written down the translations, you can watch the next video.